It's always been an intriguing building to me, and the design of it. I remember the first time I saw it. It was probably about 1952. My parents drove up here and drove around the building. I was always just taken by it. It was a very special building, and of course, it had very special meaning for all of us in very unique ways over the years.
I guess my favorite memory of the ad building is when I was coming to school with my mother, and she would let me sit in the little snack area, and across the which is now the provost's office, and across the hall, where the president's office was or is now, was the art department, if I recall correctly. I may be mistaken on that, but I remember going up to the door and peeking around and watching them throw ceramic pots, and I thought, that really looks fun, to a kid of 8 years old. And so that was one of my favorite first ones, that and the fact that they played See the Pyramids Along the Nile at the snack shop all the time.
Well, obviously it's changed more inside than it has from the outside front. It had nice high ceilings in the hallways and all the rooms. I don't know whether they were 14 feet or what, but they were high ceilings. Had some beautiful old chandeliers that went down the hall with high ceilings. I'm sure they're in some very, very nice place. I think they had to go to auction. They were worth so much. But anyway, I do remember those chandeliers all the way up and down, especially the first floor. Of course, I'd heard stories from my dad and my mother, who attended Northwest in the 20s, of how the entire university was in the administration building or academic hall. That there was a swimming pool, a gymnasium, the theater, the physics labs, the chemistry labs, the president's office. Everything was in that one building. And
the president's office and the vice president's office, much like it is today, in fact, located much like it is today. We had agriculture was one of the key academic parts. We had what we called home economics, and I don't think it's called that today, but I think you know what I'm talking about. We had speech, theater. The radio station was a valuable part of the administration building. It was located up on second floor, and we had the same administrative offices primarily that exist today. The registrar, financial aid, what we called placement in those days, and I guess most of those things still exist there. So it was not too different than today, really.
The fourth floor had, I believe, KDLX. It was not KXCV then, it's KDLX. And also music was up there, and it was broken down into little practice rooms for the students to practice their horn lessons and stuff on. The art department was in there. The ag department was there. Biology, I believe, and chemistry. Of course, family consumer science, home ec department then. Speech, of course, and music. I believe that was all that was housed there. So there's a lot of student activity, and then of course they had the little theater and what they call the theater in the round. So like during homecoming and Christmas and things, they'd put on productions and things there, so we'd have a lot of students coming in and out of the building then.
It was the central part of the activity on campus. It was the hub, and so many more students were in the building, of course. It was very vivacious and very dynamic, and you very rarely walked down the hall where you'd see 2 or 3 people. I mean, there'd be 50 people walking toward you, and so it was typical academic area.
Anyway, it was very informal in a lot of ways, and but a relaxed atmosphere. Had great relationships with the faculty. They were always there. There was, well, I got to go find them someplace in that building. They were always there, and it was it was a wonderful experience and an eye-opener, and it gave us a very special start in life. So much curriculum being taught in one building. And if you go back far enough, 100 years, you're talking about the lab school, everything
was in it.
Yeah, and that was just unbelievable.
It was quite a little bit different than today. It was not as modern as it is today. We didn't have any air conditioning in, I guess, the first 20 years that I was here, and so we had a lot of fans. And but I did enjoy the building because of its history. My first office was located on the first floor, down a little ways from the president's office, and I had a closet that opened into the tower. As you face the building, it would be if you were looking at the building, it would be the right tower. And so my closet was right there, and I stored lots of things in that office, and on occasion we would find a bat in that tower as well as out in the hallway. That was kind of interesting, and I don't know if that still happens or not, but it was always an interesting thing to see people try and track one down.
And those ventilators on top were all hooked at one time together, and so there was a natural draft through that facility, and it was unreal how you could air. In the basement, when the remodeling was taking place just before the fire, 10 years before the fire, they took out these huge air handlers, which were kind of like paddle wheels, fans that would help move some of that air, the heat air through the building. But it was comfortable. Here, I went to summer school.
I don't remember it ever.
No, sitting in class, just
uncomfortable. Of course, we were a lot younger too.
Yeah.
So.
Before they lowered the ceilings, they had, the one thing I remember is those big lights that hung in the entryway. And it's a shame that they're gone because they were beautiful. It was just, they even had them between the landings there, I believe, of first and second floor. And they were very pretty. And of course, we can't forget Abe Lincoln there.
The big shocker to me was when they lowered the ceilings.
Yeah.
I remember going in there the first time and seeing that long hallway with the narrow ceiling, and I thought, this isn't the ad building. This can't be the ad building. As we know, because of conservation of energy and all that sort of thing, it was the necessary step. But there was a majesty to the old building that each time we remodel it and make it a little more update and that sort of thing, I think we lose some of that, but we gain a lot in retrospect.
When you've been there as long as I have, you see it go around in a circle. What started here moves and goes back. It has gone from being a classroom building to an administration building. It's kind of like how you process things in your daily work. You'll start doing something one way, and then maybe you get a new supervisor or something, and they say, well, let's try this, and that's what you did before. Well, that's kind of what they've done with the building. Let's put, the president was on the second floor. Well, let's put the president on the first floor. Let's put the provost, and so it's kind of like goes around in a circle. They tried to put it at one time, they had talked about it so that all the students, the offices that the students frequent would be on the first floor. And then they moved the president's office and some of them down to the first entryway there.